Hey, Mike Filipov here, guitar practice expert from PracticeGuitar.com. In this video, we're going to talk about what to do if your guitar playing is inconsistent. I'm talking about you practice something for a good amount of time, doing it the best way you know how, trying to get better, and it feels like you're improving by the time you're finished practicing, but then the next day, it's like somebody wiped all your progress away while you slept. You're not playing any better, or in some cases, you're actually playing worse than before. If this has ever happened to you, if this has been frustrating for you, then this video is for you, because I'm going to show you exactly why this happens and what you can do today to fix it. The number one cause of inconsistent guitar playing is the thing that you would think you're supposed to do when you practice guitar the right way, and that is repeating something over and over hundreds of times, trying to play it better. Here's what I mean. Let's say I'm playing this A minor arpeggio. And my goal is to play it faster and cleaner. And I'm going to sit here for 15 minutes and repeat it, let's say, 700 times. During those 700 repetitions, my first 70, 80 to 100 repetitions, I'm going to focus on the right things in the right way. Let's say I know what to look for in my picking hand and what to look for in my fretting hand to play the arpeggio correctly. But then what happens? Well, if you're human, you're probably going to start to get distracted. You're going to start thinking about other things. And that's when your problem really begins. Because your brain goes on autopilot, and whatever bad habits you may have been trying to avoid, you're going to slip right into those. Or even worse, if you didn't have any clue what you're supposed to focus on, if you always practice on autopilot, then none of your reps count at all. Then you're just reinforcing whatever muscle memory, whatever bad habits you've always had, and you're just tying the knot tighter and tighter on yourself, but you aren't really getting any better. But let's assume you don't have this problem. Let's assume you're like the Terminator, where you're focused like a laser beam 100%, you never get distracted for every second that you practice. Even then, repeating something over and over is going to cause you problems, because it's very easy to let an imperfect or kind of sloppy repetition slip by you.
It's your job to watch for any toys that could be hazardous to children. Now look sharp!
Yes, sir.
Because you know you're going to just play it again. And when you mess it up, you're just going to play it again. That is a big, big issue. And when it's time to play the thing you've been practicing for real, like in front of another person where the pressure is higher, you're way more likely to screw it up. And if you mess it up, you don't have the luxury of doing it again and then doing it again and then doing it again. Nobody cares if you can do it perfectly after you have a chance to warm up into it with 71 repetitions before you played the 72nd one that really counts. Nobody cares.
It was just like Sonny said it would be. Nobody cares.
So now that you know why repeating something over and over often causes inconsistent guitar playing, what do you do to fix this? I've got 3 solutions for you. The first one is to simply put breaks in between your repetitions.
Give me a break, give me a break, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar, give me a break.
It's like this. Instead of repeating an arpeggio, let's say over and over hundreds of times, all you do is you play the arpeggio once, and then you rest, or don't play anything for, let's say, 2 or 3 seconds. Sounds like this. Here's why this works. When you put spaces in between repetitions, you have time for your ears and for your brain to analyze exactly what you just played. You have time to ask yourself questions like, did the notes sound good? Were my hands in sync? Was there any sloppy string noise? How tense was I? You have the time to ask yourself these questions and answer them in your mind, and then make decisions based on your answers on what you're going to do for the next repetition to make the lick sound better. And this is the very essence of what good practicing is supposed to be about. It's about identifying what's wrong and fixing it and doing it the right way so that only the right repetitions go through. And besides getting rid of the spray shooting problem, where you let sloppy repetitions slip by because you don't even care, you're not even focused, you're not even noticing them, you also have a chance to sort of reset your technique and challenge yourself in a more realistic setting where you only have one chance to play, let's say, the arpeggio the right way. And if you screw it up, it's very obvious that you screwed it up. So that act of practicing this way is going to train you to be more consistent when you play. And the time between the repetitions, the rests of 2 or 3 seconds, is the most important part of this kind of practicing. If you rush through it just to get to the next repetition, you're completely defeating the purpose of what we're trying to do. Give yourself as much time as you need to do it right. And this isn't just limited to arpeggios. Of course, you can do this with anything. All you do is you break up, let's say, a longer scale sequence into smaller fragments, play the fragment once, analyze how it sounded during the 2 or 3 seconds of silence that you have, and then play the fragment again, trying to make it better. Something like this. During the silence in between the fragments, you don't really see or hear anything happening because all the process is happening in my head, and it's all going to happen in your head when you practice. But this is how you train for consistency. And when you practice these fragments, you practice them at a speed that's pretty quick, so somewhere between 70 to say 85% of your maximum speed. So it should be pretty challenging enough to require your full concentration, but not so hard that you just struggle with it and make a bunch of mistakes. Now, putting breaks in between the repetitions is, of course, only one possible practice method. I'm not saying that it's always a bad idea to play something more than one time in a row at all. In fact, the next drill that's going to help you with consistency issues is all about playing something over and over, but playing it in a very unique way. For example, going back to the arpeggio, instead of just playing it over and over at a certain fixed speed and then just gradually making that speed faster, practice at a constant speed, but change the note values. I'm going to play the same A minor arpeggio I played for you earlier at 120 beats per minute, and I'm going to play it 4 times using 8th note triplets, or 3 notes per beat, and then I'm going to play the same arpeggio at the same 120 beats per minute, but this time it's going to be twice as fast. I'm going to play it in 16th note triplets 4 times, so that will be 6 notes per beat. So let's check this out. When you alternate note values in this way, in this case from 8th note triplets to 16th note triplets, it gives you another way to test your consistency, because anytime you change something, or in this case, change the speed of what you're playing pretty drastically, it exposes any consistency flaws, draws your attention to them, and forces you to fix them. Another simple way to fix consistency issues in your playing is to simply make sure your technique stays consistent from slow speeds to fast speeds. I see very often the guitar players may start playing, let's say, a scale by picking from the wrist at slow speeds, but as the tempo increases, their hand locks up with tension and they start picking more from the arm. Anytime your brain is confused between 2 different ways of playing something, that's when you're most likely to start making mistakes, and that's when your playing becomes less and less consistent. So the key here is to know what motions you need to use when you play at faster tempos, and when you're practicing at slow speeds and moderate speeds, you're always programming in and focused on using those exact motions and not anything else. So there you have it, 3 simple ways to make your guitar playing more consistent starting today. If you want to know more about building guitar speed, hit the link in the description of this video. I'm going to show you a way to build speed on guitar without doing slow practice. It's pretty cool. It's a unique way to practice that not a lot of people know about, because most teachers still tell you to start slow and gradually build up speed. If you've already tried that, if you already know that this way doesn't really work all that well, hit the link in the description. I'm going to show you a different way to practice that may get you playing faster as soon as tomorrow. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell so you're notified every time I upload new videos just like this for you. This is Mike Filipov, guitar practice expert from PracticeGuitarNow.com. I'll see you next time.